Welcome to Investors Hangout once again. This is our fortnightly interaction in which we try and answer your questions, talk about one of the top of your mind issues that crossing your mind on investments, particularly about mutual funds. And once in a while we get a special guest. And today we have with us Aditya Birla Sun Life CEO A Balasubramanian. I've known him for all these years in different roles, and he's a CEO now. We are going to talk about some of the things which I think he'll be knowing very intimately about. And this hangout with Bala is first I'm curious to know something from you, Bala, which is, what do you attribute Aditya Birla Sun Life? You have been going up the ranks on the AUM. But that apart, what will you attribute your performance to? Because performance has steadily improved over time across a wide array.
Yeah.
So what will you attribute? I still tend to believe that, when you do well, people put money. So at the heart of it, it's performance. What will you attribute your performance to in such a broad spectrum way?
I think your observation is pretty valid. The way we have built the business last 4 or 5 years. One, the business has to be built with a strong connect with the customers. That's something has been one of the big focus that we brought in order to build our size. That connect with the customer means both our distribution partners as well as the investors. Second is we need to have very high clarity in terms of our communication. And third, there has to be a consistency in everything that we do.
Okay.
So I call it as the 3 C's. So that's something which we clearly brought a lot of high focus last few years. And the other area where we also stepped our focus, at the end of the day, mutual fund business is driven by people, performance as well as the process. And these three men actually keep pillar everything that we do. While we coined these words, which is P's, 3 P's and 3 C's from the investment performance point of view, but ultimately we realized that it is applicable for everything that we do. Whether it is engagement with the distributors or driving the investors' communications or maybe carrying out the operational efficiency, so on and so forth. Everywhere we felt that this consistency and clarity in terms of what we are doing is all extremely important in building the business model. And finally, in every market when we started expanding the reach, we started measuring our success in terms of measurement metrics, but with a clear goal that is given to all employees, that our measurement metrics in terms of our success should be done on the basis of how I increase my market share, how I increase my customer additions, how actually well I'm engaged in terms of connecting with the distributors as well as the customers. This is where we start measuring the success. I think the combination of all these factors, which includes investor education series even that we started doing everywhere. I think a combination of multiple things led to us perform better than the what we used to do in the past, and also is either
so
line
continuous improvement on all the things that you do on these 3 P's and 3 C's.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
As a strategy, the SEBI's rejigging, and you are an old company and you acquired the Alliance Fund and then you acquired the Apple funds, and so you had a wide array of funds, and this, you have been part of SEBI's Mutual Fund Advisory Committee too, and this thing happened.
In fact, I think we did it together.
Yeah, of course, I have been almost like a fixture there for a while, at least in this area of the reclassification exercise. But how difficult was this exercise for you internally to do it? And are you able to, let me get an answer to this, then I will actually ask you what is something else which is crossing my mind.
See, as far as the consolidation of scheme concern, as you rightly put it, we as a fund house had 3 funds takeover in the last 25 years. We started with the Apple Mutual Fund, then became Alliance, then finally we did ING.
Yeah.
So 3 mutual fund schemes when we bought, all the schemes came on to us. That time the regulatory framework was such that all the schemes can come on board to the acquiring fund, and then I can continue that fund for perpetuity.
So plenty of
duplications used to be there. Of course, we also say we left it and continued to run with a lot of duplicity. And over a period of time, even before the regulatory direction that came, we've been undertaking these merger exercise wherever there's a duplicity, wherever we think that we can't grow the size, and so on and so forth.
For your own efficiency.
For our own efficiency.
Or role description.
Exactly. We started actually doing the merger of the schemes. So therefore, that experience was there with us. Second is when that new guideline which came from SEBI, of course, it so happened that I was also part of that SEBI committee on the consolidation of schemes. Even you were part of the committee. And that, I think, when we started doing it, we also felt there is a need to change a few schemes of documents, etc., in order to ensure that we get aligned fully to what the scheme is supposed to deliver with respect to the investment objective. And accordingly, wherever there is a need for changing the offer document objective from fundamental attributes that we call it, if that had to be changed, then we said we have to change it. So that's why I think we did it. So I would assume the whole exercise, though it did have some bit of challenges, more in terms of convincing internal money manager especially, and make him understand the change that is needed, and therefore how he has to adjust the portfolio. I think beyond that, I think all the work that have gone behind is ensuring right communication goes, and then we change the offer document in such a manner we don't.
No, but I'm primarily concerned about, when you were merging the scheme, a small fund merging with a large fund, or a large fund merging with a small fund.
Correct.
Combining the asset weighted, the weighted average, performance history, making customers. So, how difficult was it internally for you to realign?
It was, of course, one, doing the right identification, and second is in terms of which scheme has to get merged where, and third is actually some of the things that we have created in all these years. Suddenly we have to let go some other thing. I think the challenge was actually letting go some of the schemes, despite we having good performance, despite the concept being good, despite the money manager being emotional to manage those kind of funds, smaller in size, but it has to get merged with the bigger funds. These were some of the challenges which were there. So, but apart from that,
so you had to let go some of the beautiful performance on small funds which were no longer possible to run independently.
Exactly.
Now I have a question which is RBI recently hiked the interest rates, and you have been an old-time fixed income fund manager. I know your height lies there. I keep getting your messages on key events. So what is the outlook now? What is the outlook for fixed income? This is one question which I will be very curious to know in great detail in terms of what to expect, and also explaining the mutual fund classification for fixed income, because that has created a different kind of opportunity and very fine definitions which investors can choose.
Yeah, I think the way the interest rate cycle is moving in India. So after 4.5 years of either falling interest rates regime or a stable interest rate regime, we are actually now getting into the rising interest rate scenario.
You think it is now the start of the rise, or
yes, I think it's the beginning of rise. But only the question
is not a one-off thing.
It's not a one-off things.
Okay.
Definitely, we're on a rising interest rate scenario from the policymakers' perspectives.
Okay.
I think the interim interest rate policies, which is the repo rate, what we call it from a Reserve Bank of India point of view, is used as a signal on rising interest rates. The reason actually why we also feel that there is a high probability that 50 to 70 basis points rate hike could happen in the next 1 year time frame. One is the inflationary scenario, the trajectory is changing from 4 to 4.5 to 4.5 to 5.25. Okay. Mainly led by oil price going up, and second is the domestic inflation, especially on food prices, may probably pose a threat, and so on and so forth. And second is global interest rates have been continuous on the rise, especially US has been hiking interest rates. We already seen emerging market rising interest rates. And third, I think we'll probably join the bandwagon in terms of rising interest rates in Europe. So in a global interest rate environment, when it is on the rising path, and India of course cannot be different from rest of the global market.
No, our inflation figures can be very different, and we could only be a little higher.
Correct. Yeah. So therefore, that is being the case, I think the rates is on the way up. Even from money manager's point of view, in this kind of scenario, I think the point what you mentioned about consolidation of schemes, at least the consolidation of scheme within the fixed income, so now is bringing some bit of the boundary in which money managers have to operate. In a rising interest rate...
But 16 kind of funds now possible.
Yes.
And in a legitimate way.
Exactly.
Of course, we at Value Research were facing a lot of problem, because earlier any fund could do anything and it will change colors over time. So for us, classification exercise was a constant challenge.
Correct.
Now things have been very well articulated in terms of numerically what the fund is supposed to do. But how will how will an investor choose of these 16? Take me through this whole process that, of your 16 funds, just tell me about 5 funds. So what one should be doing? Liquid and ultra short term bond funds are very clear.
I think one of the big innovation that we have brought into the fixed income consolidation is to clearly mention in the scheme name, it's actually supposed to be the reflecting what is the underlying objective of the portfolios.
Okay.
I think the names that it took, liquid fund means name itself explains that. Which is liquid fund, ultra short term fund, credit risk fund, corporate bond fund, PSU and short term funds and medium term fund. I think the name actually suggests. Second is whatever the underlying objective of the schemes. What are the underlying objective of the schemes? At the end of the day, every money manager is supposed to take a risk either by investing in bonds that has got say 10-year maturity or 20-year maturity, or is supposed to invest only in bonds which is mix of government bonds and corporate bonds, or he has to invest in between AAA and AA and AA minus kind of things. That's I think whole objective of him. At the end of the day, he is supposed to take interest rate risk.
Mix it up to optimize the return.
To optimize the return to the investors. And that kind of risk which the fund money manager is taking in each of these category is clearly defined. What is the path I think he should take in terms of duration, whether it's average maturity or duration, whatever you want to call it. And that's very clearly defined for each of the schemes. Therefore, the money managers cannot go beyond that. So at the same time, it cannot go beyond a certain lower number.
Below that.
Therefore, that's I think the boundary. Now, from
of course, you have all the flexibility with the dynamic bond fund and
those flexibilities are there. Therefore, with
the
this
flexible mandate itself.
Exactly. That's of course again you have separate schemes. Whether all the funds will have the same flexibility, no.
Yeah, sure.
But they all operate in a certain boundary in order to have a higher predictability.
How will somebody choose of these 16 funds? Because technically, from a fund manager's point of view, his boundaries are set.
Correct.
But my needs are very straightforward. That I need money for few days. I need to invest my money for a large sum of money for few days, few months. I don't want to take chances, but I want to optimize my return, which is the way out.
I think clearly.
How do you guide an investor to pick 3 or 2 of the 16?
Yeah, I think clearly from an investor's point of view at large, in the fixed income space, is to one protect his capital.
Yeah, sure.
And second is he gets a return which can be potentially be higher than what he gets in the bank, either FD or the bank savings account.
Sure.
And if you look at from the mutual fund product point of view, there are funds which are in the low duration category. I call it the low duration category. Anything which is less than 3-year duration, generally the risk associated with that kind of investment is relatively low. Therefore, for anybody who wants to choose fixed income schemes within the mutual fund space, I think is more safer to invest in funds which invest in as low as 90 days to as high as about 3 years. And that fund actually relatively carries a lesser interest rate risk. At the same time, it gives a predictable return. And anybody who wants to play beyond that, suppose he says, I'm a risk taker, but I want a higher return, I'm expecting interest rates to go up and down, or I'll give the money manager actually
I don't mind that, and
he doesn't, you don't mind, then actually go beyond that 3 years curve. The other fund, which of course all of us in the mutual fund industry, including Birla Mutual Fund, is looking at promoting, is actually invest only in the credit funds.
Okay.
So we go and choose a credit which will go below AAA. We go down to as low as about sometime even BBB kind of investment. But as long as those investments are well accepted within our credit norms from a
due diligence
point of view,
or you do a structuring or a design so that you guard your interest.
Exactly. Such kind of schemes I think mutual funds have been offering, and we have been pioneer in that space in terms of picking credit which can potentially generate a higher return for the investors. At the same time, they hold the potential of upgrades. And we have seen many such kind of cases.
Sure.
Such kind of funds can also, which is called an accrual fund, but mainly driven by the credit. There are accrual funds which invest only in corporate bonds.
Okay.
I think from investors' point of view, they can choose both the schemes.
So that is the way to optimize the return as compared to fixed deposits and
exactly
without assuming some great risk.
Exactly.